Hey there, besties. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're continuing our recap of the manhwa, Lucia. If you're new to this series, check the description below for links to previous episodes. Lastly, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. How did this happen? Why didn't you tell me you were going to get the young master? Jerome demanded, his tone angry. I thought you already knew, Ashen replied, turning his head away from Jerome's fixed gaze. Even if that's what you thought, you should have reported to me or the Duchess beforehand, Jerome scolded. His Grace never told me to tell anyone so, Ashen began, but Jerome interrupted him. What? Do you really need His Excellency to spell out basic protocol for you? You're not a newbie anymore. Is that really something an executive secretary should be saying? Jerome thought. He can be so obstinate at the strangest times. The master makes a decision and gives us command without specific details, and it usually ends with him blaming us for any miscommunication. Today, everyone in the mansion was confused because of the young master's unexpected return, Jerome thought, glaring at Ashen. Of course, the person most confused was likely the Duchess, Jerome concluded. Later in the evening, Damian stared at the open window in his room as he lay in bed. I smell flowers. Did the Duchess do all this? He wondered, recognizing the fine fragrance from the garden Lucia tended to. I always thought vibrant flowers wouldn't suit this grim mansion. But I guess it's not so bad, he concluded. Damian found it nice to see so many flowers blooming in the garden. He went quiet, observing its beauty for a while. I want to go down there and take a closer look, he thought. At the garden, Damian walked gently, taking in the solitude. He leaned in to smell a flower when Lucia's voice called, "Young Master Damian." He turned his attention to her, noticing her warm smile. Damian observed her quietly before stepping slowly towards her. Why does she look happy to see me? He thought. Did you get some rest? She asked calmly. You woke up early. Are you hungry? She added with a smile, her voice full of affection. Why is she being so nice to me? She's definitely a calculating one, Damian thought. I'm fine for now, he replied coldly. Lucia wondered about his answer. Did I disturb you? She asked gently. Not at all, he said, turning away, his face turning red. This is awkward. I'm not used to talking with a young woman who isn't a servant, he thought. Damian had no memories of his birth mother, and all the students and professors at the academy were male. I'm not sure how I should behave in front of the Duchess, he said inwardly. I was only admiring this magnificent garden, Damian said, not looking at Lucia as he tried to hide his blushed face. I'm so glad you think so, young Master Damian. I was worried that there were too many flowers, Lucia told him with a smile. Damian fixed his gaze back at her. You don't have to be so formal with me, he told her calmly. Oh, really? I don't mind either way, but would that be more comfortable for you? She asked, sounding shy. Yes, Damian replied. All right. If you came out for a stroll, why don't we walk together for a little while? She suggested with a smile. Damian watched her closely. Now that I think about it, Sir Croin, I heard you have a duel tomorrow, Prince Hesse remarked as they walked through the palace. Yes, Your Highness, Roy replied. A count challenged you, right? It's strange, isn't it? Prince Hesse said, walking gently. How predictable. The Count is a member of a rival party, so he's picking a fight with Roy since he wouldn't dare challenge me directly. I must thank Duke Taran for sending Roy to me, he thought, observing Roy. Should I go easy on him? Roy asked suddenly, perplexing the Crown Prince. Are you trying to be funny? Prince Hesse asked Roy with a smirk. Do you think a duel is simply a game? Don't worry about my honor and fight as much as you'd like. To tell you the truth, I'm looking forward to your duel. According to the Duke, your skills are quite praiseworthy, he told Roy. As you wish, Roy Croin said with a bow. That man. He didn't even try to fight me himself. He merely sent out one of his knights while making such a big fuss, Roy thought, his mind casting back to the events that led to his duel. How dare you insult me? I challenge you to a duel. Count Solon, a member of the rival party opposing Prince Quays, had said angrily, tossing his glove at Roy. Of course, A knight from my house will fight you. He'll teach you a lesson, Count Solon said, showing them the knight he was with. What? Are you serious? Roy replied with a cold look, shocking the proposed knight. It's unfortunate that I'll be taking my anger out on the knight who has to face me, but he is at fault for choosing the wrong master, Roy thought inwardly, resuming his walk with the crown prince. I even got permission. I was worried that His Excellency would kill me if I caused too much trouble, but he wouldn't stay to see anything when I have the prince's approval, he thought, wearing an evil look. Prince Hesse turned his gaze, spotting Roy's expression, but Roy quickly pretended to smile. He's obviously thinking something sinister, the prince thought. That eventually became the beginning of Mad Dog Croin. Back in the garden, Damian remained silent. Wow, they look alike, Lucia thought, observing his resemblance to Duke Hugo. The more I look at him, the more they look alike. How can he resemble the Duke so much? She thought, turning red as she stole glances at him. I think looking at Damian will help me calm down when I start missing him a lot, she thought, staring at him. Suddenly, Damian turned abruptly, catching her stare and causing her to flinch. I heard you're attending a boarding academy. Does that mean you are on vacation right now? She asked cheerfully. Was I staring too obviously? She thought. Damian watched her silently. We don't have any vacations. But we are allowed to take leaves of absence, he told her. Even his polite and straightforward manner of speech is just like the Duke's, she thought, watching him in amazement. I'm here because His Excellency told me to come. He said I should introduce myself to the Duchess, he said calmly. He's clearly drawing a line, starting with the way he's addressing me. Then again, it would have been a little bit creepy if he were to have called me mother right away, she thought. It's really remarkable, Lucia thought inwardly. They walked in silence for a moment before Lucia stopped. Damian, she said, halting their walk. To be honest, it's difficult for me to accept you as a son right away, she said, startling him. She's so direct. I didn't expect this kind of confrontation, Damian thought, looking tense. It's the same for you, right? It must be difficult to think of me as your mother, she asked him. What am I supposed to say to that? He thought, taken aback by her question. I apologize if I have done anything to offend you, he muttered. No, Damian. I'm not scolding you for that. I'm telling you it's normal to feel that way. We met earlier today, and we don't know each other very well. So, it's only natural that we'd be unfamiliar with each other, she explained. Why is she saying all this? Damian wondered. Oh, he's being defensive, Lucia thought, observing his cold look. So cute, I want to pinch his cheeks and pat him on the head. But that would only make him more wary of me, right? She thought, blushing. I have to stay calm since I'm an adult, she reminded herself before letting out a cough. Actually, we only have an age difference of 10 years, she told him. She's young, he thought. Taking my age into consideration, that means I would have given birth to you when I was 10. That would make your father a criminal, she said coldly, looking tense. Damian hid his face in shame, feeling flustered. Turning away, he almost laughed at the situation. Lucia watched him warmly. So, let's get to know each other more. You don't have to address me as the Duchess. That's too formal. You can just call me by my name, Lucia. That's my childhood name, she said with a smile, offering her hand to him. Let's get along, Damian, she told him, beaming with a smile. Damian looked confused as he stared at her outstretched hand. Why is she doing something so unnecessary and bothersome? Compared to the Duchess, I am at a huge disadvantage. I'm still too young, and my position can change at any time. The Duchess has no reason to befriend me like this, he thought, his expression sad. Would that be okay with you? Lucia asked him. He stared at her. I don't know what her intentions are, but since I can't see through her plans, I have no choice but to accept, he thought before shaking her hand in agreement. Damian wore a serious look. I think it won't be easy to become close with him. He's really suspicious of me, she thought, withdrawing her hand. Even if I told him that I wasn't his enemy, he wouldn't believe me right now. As an illegitimate child without a mother, the first thing he would have learned was to doubt everyone around him, but that's fine, she thought. You haven't had dinner yet, right? Lucia asked him calmly. Right, Damian replied. Would it be all right if we ate together? She asked him. Damian stared at her for a moment before saying, yes, turning his gaze away. Lucia smiled back at him. She was determined to win him over because she was sure her sincerity would reach him one day. It seems like you used your connections to become His Highness's personal guard. It's not too late to admit your defeat and ask for the Count's forgiveness. If you're defeated here, the Crown Prince's honor will be tarnished. So, what was your name again? The knight who was set to duel with Roy Croin said, drawing out his sword. Oh, Sir Roy Croin, he added with a tense look. Roy yawned, looking uninterested in the battle. Huh? Did you say something? Roy asked, puzzling the knight. Sorry, I was thinking about what I should have for lunch, Roy told the knight with a laugh. What? The man said in shock. I am craving some chicken today, that sounds good? Roy asked, sounding serious. Who cares? The man shouted. You're trying to insult the Count again, you wicked crook. A knight's honor doesn't suit someone like you. Draw your sword, the man said boldly. I get to decide whether or not I want to draw my sword, Roy said calmly, perplexing the knight. It would be humiliating for your lord if this ends too soon after I draw my sword, Roy said, clutching the sword on his belt. What? The man asked in confusion. How about this? If you can force me to draw my sword, I'll admit my defeat, Roy told the man, chuckling as he held his sheathed sword in his hands. I'll give you this handicap. Otherwise, you wouldn't last 2 seconds against me, he said with a smirk. The knight gritted his teeth in anger. Roy Croin, he shouted, charging at him. At the castle in Royal, Jerome shook his head in frustration. Just what is her grace thinking, he thought. What's wrong? Fabian asked, stepping into the hallway. It's nothing, Jerome said, welcoming his brother. Why are you here? My master isn't present at the moment. Weren't you notified about the hunting expedition to clear the native tribes? I know. I was given a different order. The young master seems to be here, Fabian said, causing Jerome to fall silent, his expression showing concern. Just for some reason, you seem displeased, Fabian said calmly. Is the madam very upset about it? No, that's not it at all, Jerome exclaimed. On the contrary, she's too happy about it. She was even joyfully prancing around, and that's the problem. Although even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. You don't have a worry in the world, Jerome thought inwardly, his gaze fixed on his brother. I was suddenly ordered to bring the family registration papers. It must have been because the young master is here, Fabian said. Family registration papers? Jerome asked in shock. I don't know if Madame Vivian even agreed to it, he told Fabian. By the way, how are they getting along these days? Is His Excellency still playing the part of a newlywed husband? Fabian asked, laughing. Watch your mouth, Jerome said with a stern look. What about the capital? Is everything fine there? He asked Fabian. The capital? There's always something going on in that neighborhood, Fabian replied with a smile. At the duel between Roy Croin and Count Solan's knight, Roy won. Your Highness, what kind of duel is this? This is unjust. He fought even without drawing his sword. This is nonsense, so dishonorable, Count Solan shouted. He really won without drawing his sword. He's even crazier than I thought, Prince Hesse thought. That knight may never be able to hold a sword again. Oh, I really want to laugh, he thought, not minding Count Solan's complaints. He's so noisy, Prince Hesse thought, turning his head towards Roy, who was approaching them. Count Solan, what happened to your knight was quite unfortunate. However, you should get over it, since he lost, the Crown Prince said with a smile. What? Count Solan shouted in disbelief. Geez, just thinking about it makes me laugh. Defeating someone with a sheathed sword. The master always used to do that to him. It seems like he vented his frustration on an innocent bystander. Thanks to that duel, Roy instantly gained the attention of everyone in high society, Fabian thought. It cracked me up when I first heard about it, Fabian thought inwardly, laughing at his own thoughts. Jerome watched him silently. Although, even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. He's so uptight, Jerome thought, pausing to observe his brother's expression. Oh, I heard about a rumor that's been going around lately, Fabian said suddenly. What rumor? Jerome asked. There's talk about the mine His Grace handed over Her Grace's dowry, Fabian replied. What? Why would there be a rumor about that? Dowries are a private matter that should only be known between the respective parties. It is common courtesy to never speak of the settlement details. The fact that it's being so widely talked about, Jerome remarked in shock. What else could it be? It's obvious who started it, Fabian said with a laugh. The king must have bragged about it, and word just got out. Of course, Jerome said, nodding as they walked gently. Anyway, that spawned a bunch of other ridiculous rumors, Fabian continued, narrating the rumors. There was a rumor that Lucia was so beautiful that upon laying eyes on her, no man could resist her. According to that rumor, Duke Hugo fell for her at first sight, gave up the mine, and took her away to his domain so that nobody else could see her. To be honest, she's not really that beautiful, Fabian said, giggling as he teased his brother. Jerome flinched, looking at him with a stern expression. Yes, she is. She's far better looking than most ladies in the capital, he remarked harshly. Fabian observed his brother with a tense look. Jerome's face turned red with embarrassment as he looked away from his brother. What's the matter with you? Fabian asked. It's troublesome to have people keep gossiping for no reason. His Excellency wouldn't be pleased either, Jerome said, trying to hide his mood change. Whatever, His Excellency doesn't mind rumors like that. After all these years of serving him, do you still not know that much? Fabian asked. No, you're wrong. He won't be so uninterested in rumors regarding Her Grace. I know that for sure, Jerome thought. In Damian's room, he was studying his books. Young master, dinner is ready, a maid announced from outside his door. All right, Damian replied, pausing his writing. In the dining room, Damian helped Lucia take her seat. Thank you, Damian, Lucia said. He nodded gently before taking his own seat. For the past 2 days, Damian had been having lunch and supper with the Duchess. He thought to himself, interesting, I don't see the Duchess for very much of the day. I only see her during meals and the short walks we take afterward. He glanced at Lucia as she ate her food. We simply sit across from each other to eat, and yet somehow I've come to anticipate these times, he mused inwardly. Damian accidentally hit his cutlery, causing it to fall to the ground. A maid leaned over to pick it up, which left him perplexed. The servants have been unusually careful around me. Perhaps it's because the Duchess didn't hide her affection at all. It's not that the servants were rude to me while I was staying in Rome before I left for boarding school, but they've been more eager and sincere with me lately, he thought. Here's a new utensil, young master, the maid said, presenting him with a new set of cutlery. Lucia stared at him before smiling. I'm sure it's all thanks to the Duchess, Damian remarked. Even after Lord Damian's return, Rome's peaceful atmosphere hasn't changed. The Duchess's daily routine remains the same. She takes care of the garden during the day and reads books in the library in the evening, Jerome thought, observing Lucia in the garden one morning. Since she's been acting the same as usual, the servants who were initially nervous have returned to their usual pace. It's peaceful, he mused. I'm so worried about Madame Michelle. I heard she sprained her ankle, Jerome said, informing Lucia. Send her some good medicine along with flowers, Jerome. Oh, and this letter too, Lucia said, showing him a sealed letter. Yes, Your Grace, Jerome said with a bow. It's been a while since Kate sent a letter. But this letter brought news of Countess Corzin's injury. Kate wrote that she's been nursing the Countess. I should go pay her a visit sometime, Lucia thought. Kate must be with Madame Michelle right now. I hope she gets better soon, she said inwardly. Oh, Jerome, do you happen to know what Damian is doing right now? Lucia asked, causing him to flinch. I believe the young master spends all his time studying, aside from when he's dining and working with you, Jerome told her. His studies? Lucia murmured in amazement. Soon, outside the garden, Lucia and Damian went for a walk. I hear you've been focusing on your studies. How commendable, she said softly. Damian watched her closely before turning his head away, trying to hide his blushing face. It's only necessary so that I can stay on track with the Academy's curriculum, he muttered softly. He's blushing, so cute. Lucia thought inwardly. I heard that you aren't allowed to take vacation days but are permitted to leave the school grounds. Are students allowed to leave any time they wish? Lucia asked him. We need to get permission, and it's only limited to 30 days per year, Damian explained. I wasn't aware that His Excellency would be absent. I don't know when he will be coming back, so I'm not sure if I can return within 30 days, Damian said softly, sounding sad. The truth was, it wouldn't be a big deal for House Turan to overlook the 30-day limit, but at this rate, the entire semester would fly by, Damian thought inwardly. Damian, why do you not call him father? Did he ask you not to address him as such? Lucia asked, pausing her walk. This startled the young lord. No, that's not it. I thought he would be displeased, he said sadly, sounding unsure. Why do you think so? That's just your assumption, isn't it? Call him father, he won't get angry at you, Lucia told him. Damian looked speechless. And Damian, I noticed that you won't call me by my name either. Did you think I wouldn't notice that you've purposely been avoiding addressing me? You're not going to always address me by saying your grace, are you? She said with a stern look, causing him to tense. Of course not, that wasn't my intention, Damian said. Then say it. I call you Damian, Lucia told him. Damian struggled for a moment before finally saying, all right, Lucia, softly. This caused Lucia to calm down. In Anna's study, she dropped an entire collection of heavy books onto the floor. So heavy. Maybe I shouldn't have bought everything at once, she thought. Anna had visited every bookstore to gather every book on herbs and medicine, hoping to find a remedy for Lucia. But I have to find a way to cure the Duchess, she said inwardly. One day at the market, she heard some commotion and wondered what was going on. She spotted a maid and a man she didn't recognize talking. That's Dorothy, who works in the inner castle's kitchen, and that's? She thought, observing the man who was speaking with Dorothy. Judging by his attire, he didn't seem to be a noble. But why is she being so polite to him? Anna wondered. It turned out the man was Lord Philip. In the woods, Anna stepped gently through the forest, trying to locate a specific place. This should be the place, she thought upon finally seeing a house. It's so far away from the castle, she remarked inwardly. Memories of her encounter with Dorothy at the marketplace flashed through her mind. Who is he? She asked Dorothy. You've never seen him before? Dorothy had asked with a gentle look. Then again, he is quite an unfortunate man. He's the Turan's family doctor, she had told Anna. The Duke's family doctor? Anna had asked in shock. I thought I was the only doctor within the castle, she thought. Why didn't anyone tell me about him? She had asked Dorothy, looking tense. Oh well, he angered our master, Dorothy had answered. Back in the woods, Anna approached Lord Philip. Hello, you must be Sir Philip. I am Anna, the doctor in charge of the Duchess's health. I heard that you are House Turan's family doctor, so I came to introduce myself, Anna said. Sir Philip stared at her sternly, causing Anna to gulp hard. It's nice to meet you. You can call me Philip, he said, shaking her hand warmly. Then you should call me Anna, she replied, feeling at ease. It's rare for me to have such an honorable guest. Come in, I'll make some tea, Philip said, offering her entrance to his home. He moved out of the main castle and is usually not in Rome. For a few years, we didn't hear from him at all. He eventually came back for a few days before leaving again. This is his first time back in 2 months. Who knows when he'll leave again, Dorothy said, folding her hands as she revealed more about Sir Philip to Anna. Back at Sir Philip's house, he made coffee for Anna. I heard that whenever you return to Rome, you examine patients. You have quite a good reputation, Anna said. It's nothing worth bragging about, Sir Philip replied. It's a doctor's duty to look after sick patients, he added as she sipped her tea. Did he make some kind of mistake during treatment? Is that why the Duke? Anna began, recalling her question to Dorothy. Goodness, no. It wasn't like that. It's all thanks to him that my son is still alive. He recovered from the brink of death. Nobody here would question his skills, Dorothy said with a smile. He's that kind of person, she added, leaning in. What do you mean? Anna asked, unsure. A genius doctor, Dorothy explained. After speaking with him for a while, Anna thought, he is indeed a genius. Most doctors are only familiar with their own treatment methods and have limited knowledge of diseases, but he knew practically everything I mentioned. He even suggested easier methods for treatment. His elegance was innate, and he was extremely polite and refined. On top of that, his medical knowledge exceeded that of most others. I am no match for someone like him. At first, I couldn't understand what Dorothy had told me. Sir Philip is House Tyrann's doctor, yet he frequently goes on prolonged trips. The Duke never seeks him out, and his residence is far from the castle. Even if he did anger the Duke in some way, such harsh treatment seems unusual. Apart from a medical accident, what could be the reason for such a strained relationship? I thought it strange for a family doctor to be treated this way, despite his capabilities. There must be some complex reason behind it, she noted inwardly. She watched Sir Philip quietly, feeling tense. This man might hold valuable knowledge about the Duchess's condition. At first Anna initially came to seek his advice on her symptoms, but as both a woman and the Duchess, her condition is confidential and shouldn't be easily revealed, she thought. Anna? Sir Philip asked, observing her quiet demeanor. I should start heading back now, Anna said, standing up and putting on her cloak. Thank you for talking with me today. I truly learned a lot. As she approached the door, she thought, my patient's condition and symptoms are confidential. Even among doctors, I cannot reveal her situation so easily. Back at the castle in Rome, Anna was stopped by a guard. Sir Jerome asked if he could see you in his office, she was informed. Anna looked tense as she headed to meet Jerome. I called you here because there is something I would like to discuss with you. I know that you visited Sir Philip, Jerome said softly. Are you spying on me? Anna inquired, surprised. Oh, please don't misunderstand. The one under surveillance is Sir Philip, not you, Jerome clarified. In the past, when the master heard about our attempts to prevent Philip from entering the main castle, he was highly displeased. I suspected there was more to the story, so I increased surveillance on Philip and his surroundings. I'm not telling you to stop meeting him altogether, and you don't need to disclose what you discuss with him, but you must ensure that the Duchess never meets Sir Philip. This is His Grace's order. His Grace does not wish for Her Grace to know anything of Sir Philip's existence, Jerome said with a serious expression. Anna wondered why this was the case. Sir Philip is an excellent doctor. If I can still meet with him, would it be all right to seek his advice regarding the Duchess's condition? She asked calmly. Jerome considered her question. It's true that he's a skilled doctor and the master has never stopped him from treating patients before, he thought. That should be fine. However, as far as the Duchess is concerned, you will be the one responsible for her treatment, Jerome said. I understand, Anna said calmly. Outside the castle, someone called out Lucia's name, prompting her to turn. She smiled at the familiar face. Kit. She greeted with joy. How is Madame Michelle doing these days? Lucia asked Kate politely. She's still limping a little, but she doesn't have trouble walking. She asked me to thank you for the medicine you sent. She said it helped a lot, Kate replied cheerfully, squeezing Lucia's arm slightly as she got closer. I'm so happy to hear that, Lucia said with a smile. At first, Madame Michelle visited Rome quite often. However, as Lucia adjusted to hosting tea parties and socializing with the ladies in Rome, she came to the castle less frequently due to her health issues. Now, Madame Michelle and Lucia only hear about each other through Kate. Bring the basket here, Kate instructed her handmaiden, who then brought forward a covered basket. Lucia looked on with curiosity. Actually, the real reason I came to visit today is to give you this, Kate said, offering the basket to Lucia. Lucia wondered what the present might be. Kate, is this? She asked with a tensed look. Here's the gift I promised to give you last time. Go on, Kate said, chuckling with excitement. Lucia gently opened the cover, taking a peek inside. Oh! She exclaimed upon seeing a fox pup sleeping inside the basket. So cute, Lucia thought inwardly, her face blushing. Kate smiled gently. Kate, this is the most adorable fox I've ever seen, Lucia exclaimed, her eyes almost teary. My goodness, it's so pretty, she added softly, observing the sleeping cub. He sure is the cutest fox I have ever seen, Kate said happily. Yes, the foxes I saw at the hunt weren't this cute, Lucia thought. I'm sure he'll be beautiful even when he's fully grown, Kate said. A few weeks ago, Kate had promised Lucia a fox to take with her on her next hunt. It's important that he gets familiar with you while he's still a pup. Be sure to play with him from time to time, Kate instructed. Lucia listened attentively. It was just something we spoke about in passing. I can't believe she actually remembered, Lucia thought as she listened to Kate's instructions. He needs to know you're his owner before he's fully grown. That sort of training can only be done while he's still a baby. I'll send you a list of things you need to know when training foxes, Kate said. Okay, thank you, Kate. This is such a wonderful present, Lucia responded calmly. It's my pleasure. I'm happy if you're happy, Kate said with a smile. Anna searched through a book in her study, looking for more information. Since her talk with Jerome, she hadn't seen Philip. She felt uneasy continuing to visit someone under surveillance. Still, he truly is a brilliant doctor. If I stop visiting now, I don't know when I'll get another chance to see him. After all, he disappears from Rome at random, Anna thought. Lucia's face flashed through her memory, making her go silent. She wondered why they were watching Philip. Did he do something wrong? Is it a mistake to keep visiting him? As she walked to his house the next day, she was filled with doubt. Stepping gently towards the cabin, she paused at the door, unsure of her decision. I need to find a way to help her Grace. Is it really okay that I'm here? Will I be fine? Anna thought, struggling with doubt. Maybe I should just turn back now. This is quite a dilemma. As she wrestled with her inner turmoil, Sir Philip opened the door with a smile. Anna, welcome. Please come in, he said politely. Hello, it's been a while, Anna replied, taken aback by his warm reception. Look at how welcoming he is. I need to stop assuming the worst, she thought, feeling a pang of guilt before stepping inside. Okay then, she reassured herself. They wouldn't be watching him if he did something terribly wrong. He's a doctor, but he's also a baron. It must be a political issue. Let's not overthink this. After her meeting with Sir Philip, it was already dark. Thank you again today for your many teachings, Anna said to Sir Philip as she prepared to leave. I'm glad I could be of help. I hope you return safely, Sir Philip replied. As Anna reached the door, she hesitated and turned back, meeting his gaze with a tense expression. May I visit you again? She asked, almost nervously. Of course, come see me whenever, Sir Philip assured her. Anna's face brightened with a happy smile. From that day on, she continued to visit Sir Philip. His immense knowledge and willingness to share it earned her deep respect. It's only natural to respect someone like him, she thought inwardly. Meanwhile, Lucia approached Kate with enthusiasm. Oh dear, I almost forgot. I was going to go riding today. Would you care to join me? That sounds wonderful. I would love to go horseback riding. It's been a while, Kate responded excitedly. Oh, and there's someone I want you to meet, Lucia added happily. He's in his room, right? Please let him know that I wish to see him, she instructed a maid, handing over the basket. Damian is here. He's rarely ever at the castle, so I don't know when you'll get another chance to meet him, Lucia said with a smile. Who is Damian? Kate asked, looking puzzled. He's the Duke's son, Lucia explained. Well, he's my son now too. Kate watched Lucia, trying to grasp the implication. What? She asked, sounding confused. The nobles of the north had always maintained discretion about the Duke's illegitimate child. While no one actively prevented the spread of this information, they were careful not to let it slip, ensuring that it never reached the capital. Damian soon appeared before them in the parlor. You called for me? He asked calmly. Damian, please say hello to my friend Kate Milton, Lucia said with a warm smile. Kate, taken aback, thought inwardly, oh, this is so sudden. Her shock was evident as she tried to compose herself. Damian glanced at her, recognizing the familiar look of surprise. Yes, this is how people usually react, he thought. Despite Lucia's genuine kindness, Damian was accustomed to such reactions. Lady Milton, it is my honor to meet a beautiful lady such as yourself. My name is Damian, he introduced himself with a polite bow. Oh, yes. The honor is mine, my lord, Kate responded, forcing a smile. I think I did a better job at keeping my composure after getting up from my fall that one time I slipped right in the middle of the street, she thought, recalling her previous embarrassment. She was still grappling with the fact that Lucia had introduced Damian as her son. Just look at the way he speaks. Isn't he so mature for his age? Lucia said with excitement. Yes, Kate replied awkwardly. I feel like I'm watching a tragic comedy. Damian, do you know how to ride a horse? Or maybe we should get you something smaller, like a foal? Lucia asked politely. I took lessons at the academy. I know how to ride, Damian replied. Is there anything you can't do? Lucia inquired, smiling. We were just about to go to the tracks. Would you like to join us? Damian paused and regarded her thoughtfully. What's going on? Kate wondered, her expression reflecting her confusion. I'd rather not. I still have some books left to read, Damian said calmly. What? I understand your studies are important, but you still need some fresh air now and then, Lucia said, her tone firm. Lucia, please, Kate thought inwardly, I'm still trying to process this. Damian observed Kate's confused expression with a tense look. You know you need exercise if you want to grow taller, Lucia said, catching Damian off guard. You want to be at least as tall as His Grace, right? She prompted him, and he nodded in agreement. Kate, is it okay if Damian comes with us? I should have asked you first. I'm sorry, Lucia said, looking concerned. No, it's fine, Kate replied. But Lucia, remember the tracks we're going to are only for women. I know, well, Damian is only 8. He's not yet a man, Lucia said calmly, surprising Damian. Kate watched Damian's reaction, noting his surprise. Kate turned her head away, trying to hide her flushed cheeks as she giggled. Oh, it's nothing, she said, finding Damian's reaction amusing. His serious demeanor from moments before, speaking formally with his back straight, contrasted sharply with his more natural expression now. I never thought he could make a face like that, she thought, smiling faintly. The three of them arrived at the tracks for horseback riding. Lucia introduced Lord Damian to the various ladies they encountered. The women's reactions varied widely. Some looked as if they had seen a ghost and reluctantly exchanged pleasantries, while others stared at Lucia with confusion or concern. Despite the evident disapproval, Lucia remained unfazed. Kate occasionally caught Damian staring at Lucia. At first, she was puzzled by Lucia's actions, questioning her intentions. To be honest, I had my doubts, Kate thought, but now I understand. Lucia isn't the type to act differently from how she truly feels. Shall we take a break? Kate asked Lucia. Sure. Lucia replied excitedly. She turned to Damian, who was still riding. Damian. We're going to take a break. What about you? Damian, focused on his ride, responded, I think I'll ride for a bit longer. If that's what you want, Lucia said, smiling at him. He's so young, and already so good at riding. I'm so proud of him, Lucia exclaimed, watching him with excitement. Kate smiled at Lucia's genuine pride. The ladies made their way to the lounge, which was bustling with activity. The lounge sure is busy today, Lucia remarked, surprised by the crowd. Well, this is where all the ladies of the North like to gather, Kate explained happily. They settled in and were soon served tea. I have to say, I'm a bit surprised at how coldly they're all treating Damian. I thought His Grace officially named Damian his heir. So why are they acting this way? Lucia said, her concern evident. That's probably because everyone believes this isn't how the line of succession should go, Kate said sadly. If Lord Damian is legitimized, he would be the rightful heir, but it's extremely rare for someone in that position to succeed to the family's title. From what I know, there's never been such an instance in either the Duke's or the Marquis's family. I see, I didn't know, Lucia said, her tone calm. In her dream she had never had a child of her own, so she hadn't needed to concern herself with the traditional passing of titles. Now that you mention it, I don't think I've ever seen the firstborn son be a child born out of wedlock. Even if that child is the firstborn, he would still be second in line to a legitimately born child, Kate explained. It's custom for the heir to be a child born within marriage. Then what happens if the wife does not have any children of her own? Lucia asked. Normally, a relative would become the successor, Kate replied. This is how the nobles maintain their superiority. They believe illegitimate children should be grateful just to be accepted into their ranks. Lucia felt a pang of sadness. Strictly speaking, even though I am a princess, I'm no different from Damian. It's disheartening to think they view him this way, she thought. Before she could dwell further, someone approached their table. Hello. The person greeted cheerfully. It was Countess Filia. Countess Filia approached with 2 baskets of yellow roses. Here, these are for both of you, she said, presenting the baskets. Roses? Lucia asked in surprise. I was recently blessed with a beautiful granddaughter, Countess Filia explained. It's tradition in the north to hand out yellow flowers. They're meant to bring good luck so that my granddaughter remains healthy and beautiful. What a lovely tradition. Congratulations. I'm sure she will grow up healthy and beautiful. After all, she's your granddaughter, Lucia said with a smile. Thank you for your kind words, the Countess said happily, bowing before stepping away. Kate leaned in to whisper, it's true that it's tradition, but nowadays people don't do this anymore. Countess Filia believes in these sorts of things, still it's not every day you see someone handing out roses. Given that roses are quite expensive. The Countess must really be pleased. She must have been in the mood to spend a lot, Kate says with a smile. I see, yellow roses, Lucia said calmly. She and Damian soon found themselves in her carriage, heading back to the castle. Lucia remained quiet. May I ask you something? Damian said, breaking the silence. Of course, Lucia replied. Don't you hate me? He asked. I don't. Do you think that I do? She asked in return. I wouldn't blame you if you did, Damian said calmly. Lucia leaned closer and touched his face gently. Damian, you're only hurting yourself with such negative thoughts. Why are you hurting yourself this way? I have never hated you, and I don't ever plan to. Damian watched her quietly before bowing his head sadly. She says this now, but once she has a child of her own, she might see me as a hindrance. She might not be so kind then. I can't trust her, he thought. Damian, I already knew about you before I married your father, Lucia said, drawing his gaze back up in shock. Your father only agreed to marry me if I acknowledged you as the rightful heir, Lucia said gently. Damian's thoughts raced. I don't believe her. This is the first time I'm hearing this, he thought. I know that His Grace may not be the most loving father, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want you. He's just not good at expressing himself. He would never have made you his heir if he hated you. I don't believe her, but I want to, he thought, reflecting on her words with his head slightly bowed. No one has ever told me such things before. Do you hate your father? Lucia asked, confusing him further. I don't. I respect him, Damian replied. He recalled the Duke's request from when he was 6 years old, just to graduate, and the position would be his. That was all the Duke had asked of him before sending him away. Damian considered it a ridiculously simple task, yet the nobles had looked at him with revulsion, though they could do nothing because the Duke had named him as his heir. Other than the Duke, I was the only member of House Turan, so there wasn't any competition. I should be grateful, Damian thought. My goal has been to secure my position as the heir and finally take on the title of Duke. I never considered why I succeeded or what I wanted to do once I became Duke. To His Grace, I was merely a successor and nothing more. I was scared of being discarded if I wasn't good enough. I never hoped for his fatherly love. I was content with him acknowledging me even if it was just a little. So long as he thought that I was useful even in the slightest bit, that was good enough for me, he thought. That's good. Sons should respect their fathers, Lucia said. But why do you look up to him? Is it because he is a skilled knight, or because he's so good at ruling over the north? She asked Damian. Because he is strong, Damian replied calmly. Lucia nodded. Yes, he is. He certainly is strong, she said gently. Damian didn't need to explain further for her to agree. I don't think there's anyone else alive who's stronger than he is. He's strong both physically and mentally. He was like a tall, immovable tree, someone I wanted to lean on. I felt safe under his shade. I miss him so much all of a sudden, she thought, reflecting on her own feelings of loss. Damian, do you want to be strong as well? She asked. Yes, he answered. You can do it. You are his son after all, she encouraged, causing his face to turn red. Right, he said, feeling reassured. They soon arrived at the castle. Lucia presented the flowers to Jerome, catching him off guard. These are gifts. Countess Filia gave them to me in celebration of her new granddaughter, she explained, handing the basket of yellow roses to him. Jerome looked stunned and almost shook with surprise. I see, he said, trying to process the unexpected gesture. As Lucia and Damian walked away from Jerome, Lucia suggested, how about we have some tea before we need to wash up for dinner? I think that's a fine idea, Damian agreed. Jerome stood silently, pondering what to do with the yellow roses. Your Grace, what am I supposed to do with these? He wondered, unsure of the significance of the flowers. Inside the castle, tea was served for Lucia and Damian. I just realized that there aren't any roses in the garden. I was thinking we could fill the garden with roses next spring. What do you think, Jerome? Lucia asked Jerome calmly. Jerome's heart raced. He was visibly startled. I don't think the garden needs roses, he said, trying to maintain his composure. Damian observed Jerome's reaction with interest. What's going on with him? He wondered. Lucia noticed Jerome's discomfort. Why is that? She asked calmly. Well, actually, His Grace does not like roses, Jerome admitted. Lucia's curiosity was piqued. She turned to Damian. Please be honest with me. Did you know there weren't any roses in the garden? She asked. No, I didn't, Damian replied, shaking his head. See, Jerome, Lucia said with a smile, men don't usually notice the flowers in the garden unless they're paying special attention. Jerome, with a tearful look, thought, but His Grace does pay special attention to roses. Lucia continued, I doubt His Grace even knows the different types of flowers. Oh wait, I'm sure he can tell one flower apart for sure, that's yellow. She suddenly remembered his aversion to yellow roses. Jerome coughed lightly, pretending not to know about it, causing Lucia to laugh. I'll be sure not to include that color when arranging the roses, she said with a smile. The color doesn't matter, Your Grace. He specifically told me he never wants to see another rose in this castle again, Jerome said, internally screaming. Damian stood up from his seat. I shall retire to my room until dinner is served, he said politely. Oh, already? Lucia asked, sounding a bit surprised. There's a book I was planning on finishing today, Jerome replied. All right, I was just concerned that you might be studying too much. But I will see you at dinner, Lucia said. Yes, Damian replied as he slowly left the parlor. Actually, I'm not sure if I have time to leisurely drink tea like this. But since Lucia wanted me to, I had no choice, he thought, feeling slightly embarrassed. The boarding school he attended was a prestigious academy for nobles from across the region. The duration of stay varied. Some students, like him, remained for around 10 years, while others stayed for as little as 2. The academy students were well aware of the Duke from the Genan Empire. His significant contributions during the recent war had made him widely known, even among those from rival nations. The Duke was held in high regard, almost as a figure of reverence among the knights. While at the academy, Damian never mentioned his nation of origin or his father's identity. It wasn't due to any direct order from Duke Hugo, but rather he was afraid that everyone would think he wasn't good enough to be a Turan. Your Grace, do you remember when you asked me about the yellow roses? Do you also remember asking who received them last? Jerome asked Lucia as they walked through the hallway. Yes, I remember, she replied. Well, by His Grace's orders, the last person to receive yellow roses was Countess Falcon, Jerome said, his voice tense as he gulped. He fell silent, expecting Lucia to respond, but heard nothing. He glanced at her, wondering if he had upset her. Why all of a sudden? Did he meet her? Lucia asked, looking puzzled. Of course not. He never did. I told His Grace you had asked about the roses, which is why he instructed me to send them, Jerome said, almost shouting, as sweat trickled down his face from the stress. I see. I think I'll do some reading in my room now, Lucia said, stepping away from him. Yes, Your Grace, Jerome responded, still tense. As Lucia walked further away, he wondered if he had misjudged her reaction. Lucia's pace slowed as she pondered Jerome's words. It's not a big deal. All my husband did was cut ties with his previous lover, she thought, her smile radiant. At night, the servants assembled, awaiting Duke Hugo's arrival. The scent of blood lingered in the air, Jerome noted inwardly. As the Duke approached, he remarked to the Duke, Her Grace has gone to bed, and the young master has already arrived. There's nothing else that requires reporting, Your Grace, he said with a bow. Duke Hugo nodded slightly, his silence conveying his acknowledgement, before making his way into the castle. Prepare His Grace's bathwater immediately, Jerome instructed a maid, his anxiety evident. It had been exactly 1 month since the knights were deployed to subdue the barbarians near the border. Finally, the ruler of Rome had returned. Duke Hugo's footsteps echoed in the quiet hallway as he approached Lucia's room. Behind this door, she's sleeping quietly, he thought. He remembered her smile before he left. He bowed his head slightly as he looked at the door handle. Has she been well? He wondered. As he was about to touch the handle, he paused. He noticed his blood-stained gloves and realized he was covered in blood. Lucia's face flashed through his mind. It's never bothered me before, but now the sticky, damp feeling of blood on my hands feels disgusting. I don't want her to see me like this, he thought, clenching his fist in disgust. Sir Heaver, did something happen? His Grace's clothes are bloodier than usual, Jerome asked as he approached a knight. Oh, that. We came across some thieves on our way back, Sir Heaver replied. What? Around Rome? But thieves wouldn't dare come here, Jerome said, surprised. I know it's odd. I have no idea where they came from, but they were trying to rob a merchant when we ran into them, Sir Heaver explained with a sigh. I see, so then nothing happened? Jerome inquired. Well, yes. Nothing happened with enemy tribes that particularly upset His Grace, Sir Heaver confirmed. There must be something that could help the two of them reconcile, Jerome thought. Something that upsets him? Sir Heaver thought, reflecting on Jerome's words. His Grace's methods for dealing with the barbarians were inhumane. He was merciless against them, even more so than the enemy we were at war with. Only the knights skilled enough to fight by His Grace's side witnessed his brutality. The battlefield was a frenzy of savagery, he thought. No, I don't recall anything that would, he told Jerome. In Duke Hugo's bathtub, he scrubbed himself. The smell of blood wouldn't wash away. A precious bloodline? A celebrated knight? Nonsense, he thought, furious at himself. What am I but a cold-blooded hunter? A hunter that slaughters people. I know the chaotic bloodlust that comes with being a Tyrann. The madness inside me craves blood. I probably would have been a notorious murderer if I didn't let this side of myself go wild during war. I don't feel any remorse, even though I can tell how terrified and desperate a person is before dying. I've never once had nightmares about the atrocities I've committed, he thought. He remembered his conversation with Sir Philip while he was locked up. All the heads of the Tyrann family household were glorious knights and brilliant rulers. The Tyranns can pass on their highly developed physical abilities along with their awareness to separate their emotions from reason. That's what makes the Tyranns so special. Their abilities are something normal humans can't even imagine, Philip told Duke Hugo, sounding pleased. Is that why you are so desperate to maintain our pure bloodline? Hugo asked the doctor. Sir Philip giggled. I would say that your Grace is the purest of them all. But you already know that, don't you? Sir Philip asked, watching him coldly. That feeling that's boiling inside you, it's bloodthirst, he said, causing Duke Hugo's eyes to widen. Stepping out of the bathtub, Duke Hugo put on a robe and left his chambers, heading for Lucia's room. At her door, he paused before deciding to enter. Inside, he found Lucia sleeping peacefully. He watched her closely, then stepped forward gently to her bedside. Sitting down on her bed, Duke Hugo stroked her hair gently. Looking at her angelic face made his chest feel tight and even hurt a little. It was hard to keep looking at her, he thought, gently touching his head to hers. He got into bed with her carefully, noting how deeply she slept. Careful, he said to himself as he gently pecked her cheek before cuddling her. Later that night, the couple cuddled. He pecked her gently, and Lucia laughed loudly. That tickles, she told him. I can do something that doesn't tickle, he replied, watching her laugh. They soon kissed once more, and Duke Hugo tried sliding up her dress, but she slapped his hand, puzzling him. Stop, I have to get up early tomorrow. I have a lot to do in the morning, she said, turning away from him. What do you need to do? He asked, looking puzzled. I'm hosting a garden party 4 days from now. Since it's the first time people will see our garden, I've decided to host a bigger get-together. That's why I have a lot to do tomorrow, and there is so much to prepare for the garden, she explained. A garden party? But it's already starting to get a bit chilly. The flowers haven't withered yet? Duke Hugo asked with a concerned look. They're flowers that bloom in late fall. They may not be as colorful as the ones that bloom in spring and summer, but I really want to host a garden party before the end of this year, she told him. This party is going to be a hit no matter what, she said with determination in her eyes. I see, that's why she's been doing fine without me. I didn't want her to spend her days desperately awaiting my return, but she could act like she missed me even a little, he thought, observing her. Oh, how did everything go on your trip? Lucia asked suddenly, as if she could read his mind. Duke Hugo lay down gently. How did you spend your days? He asked Lucia as she rested on his arm. The same as usual. Well, actually, no. Damian is here, she told him. I know, he replied. She wondered, what does Damian mean to Hugh? Damian didn't hold any resentment towards his father. Although he was still a young child, it would have made sense for him to have a twisted sense of hate towards his father from the neglect he experienced and the unfortunate position he was in. Despite everything, Damian remained good and true. Lucia considered him to be a lovable boy, but it was also heartbreaking to look at him. I would raise 10 children that weren't mine if they were all like Damian. That's why I want Hugh to get along with his only son. It would be terribly sad if things stayed the same way, she thought. Do you have time during lunch? I would really like it if we could all sit down together. But only if you are okay with it, she said with a smile. Dinner would be better. I have meetings all morning, he replied. He wasn't rude to you, Duke Hugo suddenly asked Lucia. Not at all. He was courteous and quite mature, and he has perfect manners, she said. He doesn't really know his son, she thought, noticing his cluelessness. I'll get along with Damian. That much you don't have to worry about, she assured him. I'm not worried about that. Tell me if he tries to step over you, Duke Hugo said with a serious tone. That won't happen. We've been getting along famously while you were away, she told him, closing her eyes. We? He asked, puzzled by the mention of we. I apologize for not greeting you sooner. Welcome back, she said faintly before drifting off to sleep. I'm back, he replied calmly. Lucia woke up the next morning, alone in bed. She tried wiggling her wrist, feeling tired. I feel so worn out. It wasn't a dream that he came here. So I wasn't dreaming last night. I'm so happy, she thought, her face flushing as she reminisced about their encounter. He still made love to me as passionately as ever. Oh, is it possible to be this happy? I feel like I'm floating on air. Right now, I feel like anything is possible, she told herself. All right, let's get the preparations for this party going. I can do this, Lucia thought with determination as she got up from bed. But before that, I have to bathe. This is so embarrassing, she thought as her handmaidens washed her in the bathtub. Lucia noticed the maids' flushed looks as they bathed her. The maids will probably gossip about this, she thought. Lucia figured her maids were probably thinking that Duke Hugo came straight to her room last night because he couldn't wait. It's written all over their faces, she thought, observing their red faces. The day passed quickly as she busily made plans for the party. After a long day's work, there is nothing better than this to relax and enjoy myself, Lucia thought, feeling pleased with the day's work. It was finally time for a family dinner with all 3 of us present, she thought, anticipating dinner with Duke Hugo and Damian. She stepped into the dining room with great expectations as she saw them already seated. This is really awkward, Lucia thought as she sat quietly. How should I put it? Now that I see them together like this. This is so nice. It's like seeing a lion and his cub. So cute, Lucia thought, her face red as she watched them. Her grace is truly amazing. I don't think I could sit down to eat in a situation like this, the servants thought, watching them eat together. Hugh would have never named Damian his heir if he despised him. And Damian said he looks up to Hugh. I'm sure those 2 will get along if I help out a little, Lucia thought, observing them quietly. This is enough progress for now, she said inwardly. Are the preparations for the garden party going well? Duke Hugo asked, breaking the silence. Yes, very well. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. What do you think about having Damian attend the party? Lucia asked calmly. Duke Hugo glanced at him. Damian froze, as this was the first time he had heard this from Lucia. I thought only women were attending, Duke Hugo said. Damian's a child, so it should be fine, Lucia replied, her eyes shining brightly. He's not a man after all, she added. They both stared at her with confused looks. The room went silent. Duke Hugo chuckled, observing Damian's flushed expression. You're right, he's too young to call himself a man. Do as you like, he told Lucia. Damian looked confused at both of them. Oh, and what are your plans for after dinner? Duke Hugo asked. I don't have anything in particular planned. I was just thinking of finishing a book I was reading in the library later, Lucia replied calmly. Do you need to finish it by today? He inquired. No, not exactly. Do we have a guest coming over? Lucia asked, sounding a bit perplexed. At this hour? No. Even if they were to come, we would turn them away. It's rude to come this late, he told her. Lucia went silent, unsure of what he was implying. After you've had dinner, you should go for a walk and then take a bath, he suggested. Who? Lucia said, sounding confused. I'm saying you should get to bed early if you want to get up early tomorrow morning, he explained with a smirk. Lucia observed him for a moment before her face turned red. You can't say such things in front of a child, she whispered to the Duke. What did I say that was so bad? He asked with a grin. Lucia's face turned bright red, and she was visibly embarrassed. She sprang up from her chair, stomping out of the room in disgust. Where are you going? Duke Hugo asked suddenly. I'm going for a walk, she said as she left the room. Damian watched her, feeling tense. What did His Grace say that upset Lucia so much? He wondered. Then he observed the Duke chuckling, which stunned him. Duke Hugo began laughing silently. He's smiling. And it's not some cold smirk or sneer. He's actually smiling. I've never seen him smile before. I can't believe he knows how to smile. So His Grace is human after all, Damian thought, frozen in shock as he watched Duke Hugo smile. He's smiling because of Lucia, he realized, his face blushing. Lucia soon returned, peeking from the door. Damian, she said, standing at the entrance. Join me, will you? She asked calmly. Damian hurriedly stood up from his seat and dashed toward her, stunning Duke Hugo. What? He's following her without even hesitating, Duke Hugo thought, watching Damian leave the dining room with Lucia. What just happened? He wondered, remaining alone in the room. Outside the castle, Lucia and Damian walked gently together. Damian kept glancing at her as they walked. Is there something you want to say, Damian? She asked, causing him to flinch. It's just. I was surprised, that's all. Usually, people are afraid of His Grace, he said with a tense look. I don't think there's a wife in this world who is scared of her husband, she said, smiling. Would you prefer to have your future wife be scared of you? She asked him, prompting Damian to shake his head. See, she said with a warm look before walking ahead of him and resuming her stroll. Damian, still observing her, couldn't shake his tense feeling. But Lucia is smaller, so nice, like a harmless rabbit. On the other hand, His Grace is huge and aggressive, like a wild lion. How can two people who are polar opposites get along so well? He thought. Damian, are you scared of your father? Lucia asked calmly, turning back to meet him. Damian was quiet, looking tense. A little, he admitted. Why? Did he do something to frighten you? She asked. No, he didn't. It's just, he said, his head bowed slightly. Then maybe you're just scared of him because you don't know him very well, she said calmly. Repeat after me, Father, she instructed. Damian was silent, his mood tense. Go on, she urged him calmly. Damian looked away, visibly sweating, his face turning red. He pondered for a moment before saying Father, almost stuttering. Lucia smiled. Very good, she said, raising her hand to give him a pat, but Damian flinched. Lucia went silent, her face turning tense. Lucia watched the scared child. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Did I upset you? She asked calmly. No, not at all. I was just taken aback. I'm not upset, he replied. Inwardly, Damian thought that no one had ever come close to touching him before. Sometimes, children are patted on the head when they do a good job on something. I won't do it if you don't want me to, Lucia said calmly. Damian looked away, perplexed. I want to, he mumbled. Really? Lucia exclaimed excitedly, her face turning red. Then may I do it right now? She asked. Damian nodded slightly, his face flushed. Lucia fidgeted a bit before raising her hand slowly and bringing it closer to his head. She patted him gently, still looking a bit tense. Damian closed his eyes. Lucia's heart rate increased slightly as she continued to pat him and rub his head. She let go briefly before resuming the patting. She enjoyed the moment. Damian's face was flushed. Lucia smiled as she rubbed Damian's head some more. They soon resumed their walk. Oh, Damian, come to think of it, you don't have a tailcoat to wear to the party. Or do you happen to have one? She asked suddenly. No, I don't, he replied. I thought as much, since you've been away at school all this time, she said. Let's see, who should I ask? She wondered silently, pondering a solution. Lucia, I really don't have to attend, Damian said, his voice a bit sharp. No, you must attend, she replied with a stern tone. Lucia really didn't want to do anything that went against Damian's wishes, but she was determined to have him present at the garden party. She knew that children were sometimes introduced to society before their official debut. This was a privilege typically reserved for children whose parents hosted a significant event. There was a reason why noble households went through so much trouble and expense for such parties. This party was going to be huge, with all the noteworthy members of North High Society invited. It would greatly enhance Damian's status if he was formally introduced at such a prominent event, Lucia thought. It won't be a problem for him to wear a suit that is already made, a voice said, drawing their attention. They both turned to see Duke Hugo standing behind them. Since it's just a garden party, his suit doesn't need to be tailor-made, Duke Hugo said, walking closer to them. That's good to hear. Thank you for letting me know, Lucia replied. We should get one that would normally fit an 11 or 12-year-old child. But he's 8? Duke Hugo asked, looking confused. Damian is taller than most 8-year-olds. He's quite a giant compared to kids his age. He might even grow to be taller than you, Lucia remarked, laughing slightly. Duke Hugo looked sternly at Damian, causing him to flinch. I'm not so sure about that, he thought inwardly. I'm sure you were taller than most kids your age when you were younger, Lucia said, looking at him. Duke Hugo observed her quietly. I don't care to revisit my younger days, he thought. I don't remember, he said to Lucia. Duke Hugo didn't have the luxury of a normal childhood. When he was Damian's age, the slave children around him didn't even know their ages. How tall we were was the last thing on our minds, he thought. I thought you still had a lot of work left to do. I assumed you would head straight to your office, Lucia said. Am I interrupting you too? Duke Hugo asked with a serious tone. No, it's just that you are always busier after you return from a trip. But it's good that you are here, she said with a smile, resting a bit on his arm. I don't think Damian's been able to properly greet you since you've returned, she said to him. Damian, go on, she urged softly. Damian paused, his face turning red. He bowed slightly. It has been a long time. I hope you've been well, he said calmly. Father, Lucia whispered, urging him to use the term. Damian looked at her calmly, then back at Duke Hugo. He bowed his head, then looked up, his face serious. Father, he said, referring to Duke Hugo. Duke Hugo observed Damian with a calm demeanor. That word. A word I have never uttered. Was it due to hatred or disgust? To me, that man's existence was something I wished I could have erases, he thought, reflecting on his own father. Father, huh? He mused. Lucia gently tapped him with her elbow, drawing him back to the present. She smiled at him, signaling that he should respond to Damian. Duke Hugo glanced at Damian. Welcome back, he said, causing Damian to be momentarily stunned. Damian's face lit up with a smile. Lucia also smiled, pleased that her efforts were having an effect. You're going for a walk, right? Then you should join us. Today will be our first day walking together, Lucia said with a smile. Together? Duke Hugo asked, glancing at Damian. Damian flinched at his father's gaze, instinctively sensing what Duke Hugo wanted. Though he couldn't fully understand how he knew, he realized he shouldn't stay any longer. Please excuse me, I have to get to my studies, Damian said politely, bowing to Lucia. Already? It's not good for your health to sit right after eating, she said. I'll be fine since I've already had a short walk. Have a good night, Damian replied before leaving. Seems like he's not totally clueless, Duke Hugo thought inwardly. And just like that, Damian received the recognition he sought from his father. Lucia watched Damian leave with a thoughtful expression. Duke Hugo's voice broke her reverie. You seem to be getting along with him, he remarked, drawing her attention. He held out his hand, and Lucia took it. I thought you asked him to come back because you wanted me to get better acquainted with him. Was that not your intention? She asked. To be honest, I didn't expect the two of you to get along so well, Duke Hugo said. I thought you should at least meet him. Vivian was still young, and Damian was a reserved boy. I didn't think it was possible for them to grow closer. Which is why I wasn't going to interfere, even if they hardly spoke to each other. Vivian isn't acting as I anticipated, he thought, observing her smile. Why do you want to bring Damian to the party? Duke Hugo asked as they resumed their walk. Because there are so few opportunities to introduce Damian to others, Lucia replied. He is your son and now mine as well. Isn't it more appropriate for everyone to know who our son is? How easily you refer to him as your son, Duke Hugo said, prompting a puzzled look from Lucia. What do you mean? She asked. How easily you accept him as your son, Duke Hugo clarified, making Lucia pause. Then do you wish to be completely indifferent to him? If you think I have some sort of motive, she said, her voice taking on a harsh tone but was interrupted by Duke Hugo. No, Vivian. That's not it, Duke Hugo said, pulling her close and meeting her gaze. As he did, a memory from his childhood flashed in his mind. Don't touch my head, he had said harshly when someone tried to pat him. The memory lingered as he looked at his brother, who had attempted patting his head. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive and we'll catch you in the next episode.